Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another quick view installment. Though it's not, it's a Redux, and we do Reduxes for a number of reasons. Redux is generally when you go back and do it over, like if it's a tire that's been tested before. But then there are those other instances which are not as common, which is you take a tire like the 1.9 Axial Ripsaw, which is supposedly an R35 compound, but who knows, right? Like they claim they're all R35. No two R35 tires perform similarly, much less alike. So what we have to do here with the Ripsaw is undoubtedly and indubitably a Redux, because a quick view, there's a bag, has tires in it. We take the tires out of the bag, we punch holes in them, we put the foams or Canyon Customs in them, mount them to a set of rims, and it goes on one of the test vehicles. We have a Class 1, a Class 2, and a Class 3 test vehicle. Thus arises the problem with the Axial Ripsaw. We're going to get something out of the way before we get to more visual aids, because I always forget to do this part. 108. We're going to call it 108, which is basically Class 1. So there's another one for you know what? Give me the wrench. Visual aids inbound. Here's another one. That's like 111. So the differences in insert are really coming into play here. I mean, they look basically the same. 3 millimeters. I don't know if you're going to be able to see. This is very heavy. This is, yes. It's 41 and a half. So we're going to round up and call it 42. 108 by 42, that's a Class 1 tire. Give me a Class 1 tire. Come on, rack. Yeah, it's like 106, 107 by 41 and a half. Suddenly, the Ripsaw is Class 1. I think their original list is 4.35. Well, they're both about Class 1 now. So, we have a Class 1, a Class 2, and a Class 3 test vehicle. This is, as was just shown, a Class 1 tire. This is our Class 1 test guy. He's in the low to... Well, we still need to glue his windshield back in. He is in the low to middle 7-pound area with the hard body and all of the whatnots. Some of that weight is in his wheel tire combos, but in that 7.5-pound area. We run Ripsaws, another part of why this is a Redux. We run Ripsaws on 2 vehicles in the Canyon fleet. This is one of them. This is one of his tires, which are the Endura red inner dual stage foam, which are designed for things that are very heavy. It looks like this. It is almost incompressible. These are basically way too firm to run in that. They look as if there's barely any deflection in this, and he is, as I said, over 9 pounds. He's close to 10 pounds, because to counteract a Defender body, you have to put brass, like the big brass, all the way around. He's very heavy. So his tires, I can tell you from some experience, this insert in this tire is not going to work on that. We then have the other set, which is this one. I just mounted that one. Those would be over there. These would be over here, right? Is that right? Are fitted to this gentleman. This is an Axial Ripsaw with a Class 1 single stage open cell foam from a J Concepts Class 1 tire. Like what's inside this. The same exact foam that's in here is in here. That's not going to work on that either. So this is where we we lovingly, and only to a degree jokingly, refer to it as conservation of energy. I could do a more openly featured quick view by going through the rigmarole, the full rigmarole, unmounting these tires, or the other ones, those have been mounted much longer. So unmounting these tires, mounting them with an insert that is more appropriate for our Class 1 test rig, and then running them that way. But I'm not going to, and let me tell you why. It doesn't purely come down to conservation of energy. A bigger part of that is that I know stuff. That's why this is a Redux. I know stuff about the Ripsaw. The Ripsaw is one of those tires that falls into that category. It's not even a narrow band, really, of tires that they work in a particular way. We landed on these purely by accident, and they work surprisingly, like alarmingly well on this rig, because there were no intentions in my mind when building this to make a Class 1. I mean, you see everything about it looks Class 1, right? That's a proper Class 1 rig. It excels on these tires. The same can be... So he's not featured today. We're not going to see Lord Pennaby, first of his name, our Class 1 test rig today. We're not going to see this guy, because what we have is we have optimized tire sets, both in terms of insert, the vehicle that they're mounted to. This weighs right about half what this weighs. So what we have to do is we have to kind of lean towards that optimization. This tire is going to perform not as well on this because of the limitations of the vehicle. Not as well on the test rig because neither set of wheel tire is anywhere close to optimization. These are stock. We could run these stock on Lord Pennaby and he would be absolutely smearing them over on the rim. They're not going to work in their current configuration at 7-ish, 7.5 pounds. Too hard for 7.5 pounds, too soft for 7.5 pounds. If you're doing a little quick mental math, Lord Pennaby is directly in between these two. This guy, let's call him 10. This guy's 5. He's 7.5. Foam, I don't know if there's a foam out there that's going to be comfortable at 5 pounds, 7.5 pounds, and 10 pounds. If that foam exists, somebody has silenced that guy, because that's gonna put the market on its ear. I have never put any sort of sophisticated insert in a Ripsaw. I don't think they're explicitly a tire that needs it. I genuinely, until this minute, I've been calling the Ripsaw 4.3 since the very beginning, since I first started running these. And apparently, they're just Class 1s. The 1.9 Ripsaw is just a Class 1, which might make it. There's a strong possibility here that this is my favorite Class 1 tire, even above the Class 1 flat iron. I think it might be these guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Zombie. These are his everyday shoes. There was a time in the lore of the Canyon where we did not have a dedicated tire test rig or tire test trio. We just grabbed whoever. So before the current tire testing protocol, we left the tests up to anybody. And that's kind of what the Reduxes are. We run the protocol, which are the 10 stations of the protocol. We do the wet test, we do all of that stuff. But the rig that runs it is going to be a rig a little bit more suited to that tire, because optimization is a thing. I think that tests like this might, in the grand scheme, be slightly more illuminating than tire tests that just say, we're going to do this raw and we're going to run it on a default rig. And I know that's crazy. we do it because we're trying to establish a scientific standard. There's a place where you can order peanut butter where a tiny little jar of peanut butter costs like $400 because it's from some sort of offices of standards, right? So that is standard peanut butter. Tastes terrible. Like, it's awful peanut butter. But it is like scientifically pure and correct. That is what Baseline, Lord Pennaby, and the Wolverine try to bring to us. They try to bring us these baseline tests. This is going to be more of a refined test. That's why it's called a Redux. You're not involved in this. So we've got to test these in a way that, like, I could already see the failures. If we fitted Ripsaws to all three of them and drove them out together, all three of them would indeed drive differently. I think that this gentleman has the best chance of making them appear as they should, I guess. Is it influenced? I don't think so. Basically, if you are looking at a vehicle from the fleet, I run pivots are his day-to-days on the Class 1, canyon trails on the Class 2, and because we can, we run LP ruptures on the Class 3. That's the day-to-day tires for those three rigs for when they have to do stuff that isn't work, when they're outside of work. If you see a vehicle that is not part of the test fleet, and there are 5 vehicles of the test fleet, if you see any vehicle that is not part of the test fleet, this one, the comeback, this one, whatever tire they're running that tire for a reason. We're not going to run a tire we don't like. I like Ripsaws. I just found out about 6 minutes ago that the Ripsaw is my favorite Class 1 tire. I didn't even know it was a Class 1 tire before that. I thought they were 4.3. I used to say they were the perfect tire for portals, but I mean, I'm just running Class 1s on there, I guess. So, he's going to run it. We will definitely illuminate a little more, hopefully, out on the course. Zombie has never tested a tire before, and he's going to do it right about now. So, come join me, will you? I just hope that the process of this does not turn into some heaping helping of hubris because I was like, this is my favorite Class 1 tire. I just want him to do the things. Now, because they are reportedly R35, I do notice they don't, the Ripsaw has never exhibited that, like, intense surplus of forward drive like you get from a bar tire or a pin tire. We do the shuttle, we go for the cutback, and take into account, please do, because I try to take it into account all the time. I'd been calling it a 4.3, it's a 419, this is a Class 1 tire, on straight axles. So I kind of have to actively, I got to do active driving here. The positionability and the maneuverability of these has always been very good. And they have enough forward drive to where, like, the doodlebug maneuver, where the rear end gets bound or overloaded and you will just flip over your axis, doesn't really do that. And I think what they do more than that, this is Class 1. Augered a pumpkin in there, so we just maneuver around it. They have all the maneuverability that I would want. See? Those little hesitations are the things that will ultimately kill you. Because say we have a tire that is constantly doing 9.6s. So we're looking at a 96 tire. And then half the time it gets, let's see if I can get into the spot again. It gets, doesn't do it there. Okay, it didn't do it at all. That little tiny hesitation right there, you lose a tenth here, you lose a tenth there. All of a sudden, instead of being a 96, 96.1, 96.2, you're a 95.5, 95.4. That's, the Ripsaw is an excellent tire. It is. And I would not be running 2 sets of them were they not. But let's be real simple and plain about it. It's not the 97, 97.5 overall performer of a Tusk or a Megalithic in Class 1. Because this isn't bound. We're just not quite pulling. There we go. They do so good. They do so good. And why we're deep in a Redux is I'm wondering, is sentimentality getting in the way? Is sentimentality getting in the way? Is just lucky optimization getting in the way? Because if you're running something that is deliberately Class 1, there's a good chance you're going to weigh more than this. But I think, again, we're going to interpolate. Ooh, there it is again. It's coming back up again. That's a callback. We're going to interpolate because we have experience with the Ripsaw on a 9-pound vehicle. And right now we're experiencing the Ripsaw on a 5-pound vehicle. So, can we interpolate that we would get some decent amount of performance out of a Ripsaw on a 7.5-pound vehicle, which is where I think a lot of Class 1s are going to be in that upper 6, low to mid 7s. Yeah. Like that's super solid through there. I wouldn't run them if they weren't good. I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm both overselling and simultaneously negging the Ripsaw. I also don't want to wax hyperbolic and say this is the best and or worst that you'll ever see from a Ripsaw. Big rise there. Oh, we were pulling the body down, driver rear. Because they are narrow, the height, stay down. It does it with aplomb there across the side hill, but it feels iffy. There's an uncertainty. Now, a question just arose in my mind. This is a Redux question. Reduxes are kind of like, there's a little more crowd interaction in these because I'm going to ask you rhetorical questions, semi-rhetorical questions. You can answer them in the comments. It just occurred to me that the two vehicles that I have outfitted with Ripsaws, one is heavy, one is light. We've got a Laurel and Hardy operation going, but this one, Zombie in particular, has very little in the way of sprung weight. Ironsides, the Defender, has to run so much brass to counteract a body that weighs 1 kilo that his sprung to unsprung ratio is, I don't think, the sort of same caliber as what we would see in a proper Class 1 with a hard body. So my question now that had not arisen before and is arising now, will the Ripsaws punch as hard in a rig that has that messed up bias? The bias, the non-optimized bias. If we're talking about a hard body in place of light polycarbonate, there's just those little hesitations. And the side, here's the thing about the side hilling in here. We don't have, it looks wide because the body is really tucked. It's just this is a normal offset, standard 9mm hubs on a normal offset 105 on an F10 on the standard hexes that come on an F10. So this thing is probably in that like 235 to 240 range wide. He's not overly wide, he just kind of looks it because the tires stick out so far from the body. There is a feeling of stability or lack thereof that I don't know if it's purely just perception or if some of it actually exists. But what it is the tire feels And there is certainly no pun intended here. The tire feels really well-rounded. Let's talk for a moment about habits and the difficulty in breaking them. Oh, that's good. Any tire that pulls that ledge, can we do it lower? Can we do it even lower? Get that front off of that. Oh, that's nice. That's peak forward drive for the Ripsaw. Now, can we class 1 clearance it over? We're gonna have to try to get that rear to pivot just like that. There is this predictability to this tire that punches so high above. Habits that are impossible to break. You are looking at the beast, which is station 4 of 10 on the tire test protocol. We just left Quaylen, the name of the side hill. Quaylen was the villain in the movie Cliffhanger. That's a deep cut, because hanging on that side hill, you're cliffhanging. Station 5 is Oblivion, where we test positioning and maneuverability. The side hill is right in between the two. So when I first started forming this iteration of the tire test protocol, which may be the final iteration, we went from the side hill to the beast and then back to Oblivion. So I have to walk back past the side hill. Beast is like out of the way. It should go Slick Rock, the beast. So this should be station 2. Then it should go Daphne's Line, Quaylen the side hill, Oblivion, the third self-right the bump, the teardrop, and wet. This is the only place we have to backtrack. You know what the thing about it is? There's no way I can do it any other way. I've done it too many times like this. I will instinctively walk over here, regardless of what the order is on the card. Yeah, that right there is singularly the best that the Ripsaw has done, like by a margin. So this episode, part quick view, partly Reduxian, part optimization, and by optimization I mean just this tire with this foam, J-Concept single stage, fit this vehicle really, really well. But I think there's a standing silently, maybe in the corner, quick view portion, because I don't think there's anything happening right here that can't be duplicated. I couldn't find the foams that came with the tires, so I put some class 1s in it, and it never clicked in my head. Oh, they just got a thick carcass like most Axials. It didn't click in my head. They are class 1s. They call them 4.3s, but they're not. Look at that turn. Good grief. That's stupid. F10 Ripsaw. Also, can you get, and riddle me this, more audience participation, can you get further apart axle-wise in a conventional width? Okay, I'm not talking AR60s or something. You're not putting class 1s on AR60s. A TRX4 Portal and an F10 straight, like, steering angle's different, steering response is different, ground clearance is different. This is a tire that works well on both of those. I literally turned in way too tight. I don't know if that was catch of the day. I don't know what that was, actually. Just swinging around. Just swinging around town. They're so well behaved. And so receptive to steering input that on the one hand, you're like, man, Ripsaw, so good. Fantastic class 1 tire. And on the other hand, you're like, do you have any idea how many tires Axial has come out with since they made the Ripsaw? And they have gotten, I was gonna say almost universally worse. No. Every Axial tire post Ripsaw, aka the 1.9 4.3, Every Axial tire since has gotten worse. Left side, right side, absolutely solid. Absolutely solid. If we're looking at this center cut on class ones, no, we kind of get pushed around. And then we our little reposition. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. We kind of have to view this through the lens of class ones, through a class one goggle. But also we don't. Whoo, he's contradicting. I don't feel like I'm driving class ones on these. I don't feel like I'm driving class ones when they're on the Defender either. Some class one tires, I feel it. I just feel like I'm driving a class two that is just really stable. Keeps its weight down. Is there any? I don't know. No, the positionability stays. It gets a little squidgy on the rear end, but we do have enough forward drive. Yeah, we got plenty of forward drive. Bump stop. Come on. Yeah, little drop backs. Can we get on the edge? Yeah, little drop backs. It's not a tall lug. It's not a really tall lug. It's not a wide tire. It's not a tall tire. Okay, does that count as a self-ride test? It should be reasonably easy to flop, although this guy does have some flex to him. Yeah. No, he's got the flex. He's spider walking it. Okay, right. Ha! Ha! Don't make me walk over there and flip you over. Because I fear if we go up, if we do it this way, I fear if we go up here, it's just going to roll back to wheels. Every time. Every time. Well, that's kind of what I anticipated, to be honest. All right, haven't really gotten to test the Sky. Popped. Okay, I'll give you one try, and then we're just going to have to flip it over manually. Hey, ground, forward. Does not like it. Okay, yeah. Did not like it at all. Straight to the roof. So we'll do a belly up to camera, steer to the sky, reverse. Yeah, like a 180. This is more for me than it is for you. I wanted to see the self-rideability of the Warlord. Really, that's what I was looking at. Easier to flip and reverse. Yeah, onto the roof. Yeah, because we have so little sprung weight. When you get past that certain point in the tip, this is a mini quick inside the Redux. The Warlord body will kind of tend to go to the roof, and the roof is very flat. So it's a catch body, what I call a catch body. You got to try to catch the flip because you're going to end up like this more often than not. And I really need to qualify that statement. The Ripsaw itself is a good self-riding tire because it has a good sharp corner lug where the side lug meets the main lug. Your ability to self-right is going to be really dependent on the body. When I say that you're going to end up like that, you see this, the curve of the body. It makes that bad angle, and it makes it to where when you're trying to self-right yourself from your side, it's almost like a 50-50. Depending on what angle you're sitting on the ground, you might go straight to wheels in a second, or you might just rocket yourself onto your roof. Now, the Warlord itself, if your vehicle is outfitted similar to this one, and you have very little unsprung weight, I mean, you have very little sprung weight and the high proportion is unsprung, you will tend to roll to your wheels. Like if you're rolling off of an obstacle, you'll roll to wheels most of the time. When kinetic, the Warlord tends to seek its feet, which is good. So knowing the limitations of the Warlord as a shell, we can then say that the Ripsaw is a good self-riding tire. because it has the shape. The Warlord is I would probably classify it as a middling self-righting body. What was that? There's like, oh, it's a dog. There was shadows appearing behind the fence over there. We like to get over here into the cocoa powder. Can we pull out of that slow? Yeah, yeah. Now, I also think, I have to think, we haven't built that obstacle yet. We're gonna have that obstacle. There will be an 11th station. Somebody's gonna have to get eliminated because I'm gonna want to stick to 10. There will be a station eventually, in future times, where we can test like loading with mud. We haven't. I'm pointing over my shoulder. We haven't built it yet. I think the Ripsaw will do well because it has different shaped lugs. The lugs have like cuts in them, so they're different levels of lug. And the main lug itself is not super tall. Think of inverse universe Baja Pro X. So there's not a lot of places for the mud and stuff to get built up. They're more slick than not. So they're a tire that can do this and walk dirt. But they also have enough get up and go to pull themselves over like that. You know? The Ripsaw, certainly, if we're viewing it through a lens of all things Axial, is the best tire Axial has made. They set their bar too high. And we're you know, what a bittersweet thing. We have a great tire, and everything they've made since, not great. So we'll do what we usually try to do, which is we try to pick a line, and we try to hit that line. Wow, that was really easy through there, guys. No hesitation. Well, the wet test area is kind of like the cleanest surface we've got out here. Get more out onto that slick rock. There we go. Get a little bound, pulled straight over. Absolutely no problems. It occurred to me what I can do is set the camera up a little wider like that. And then if we aim correctly, when we pull the trigger, we don't wet the rig down. I tend to be, we're still working it out. We're still working it out. I tend to hose the rig down. I kind of hosed Slick Rock down a little bit. Not too bad. All right, supposedly R35, right? Easy walk. Okay, I notice a little bit of side-to-side slippy. But in terms of forward drive, okay, more out towards this slick. Whoa! Okay, that was aggressive. That was aggressive. I'm not gonna lie. Wanted to get out towards this. We got that hung up before, right in that exact same spot. Give it a little lower speed. You don't have to give it quite so many beans. Get that side lug engaged right there. Nice. Doing the things. Getting a little wetter. I'm hard pressed. On the one hand, it is kind of practice here to where if we see a differential and it's not glaring, and I would say that this is that instance, what we tend to do is we just tend to subtract, settle, there we go. We tend to subtract 1/10 of a point from the dry score in order to award the wet score. And if we do that, the recently discovered to be Class 1 Axial Ripsaw in reportedly R35 compound is a 96.9, which is a number that I feel I've heard before. And also, I definitely note a trend. There's a trend appearing on the board, on the leaderboard of tires, and that is Class 1 tire. No. Okay, listen. The Class 1 people out there are nodding their heads. They're like, knowingly, they're like, yeah, that's right. Class 1s have a built-in advantage. They weigh less, so there's less rotating mass. It increases the PSI, so it makes the tread work better. Can, if the insert is working right. That less sidewall makes the tire less likely to fold over, which is why in a lot of cases you can just get away with a single stage open cell foam shoved in there and go. Or worst case, if you've got a 9 or 10 pound TRX4, you can buy a set of, like, what do they cost nowadays? 16, 17 bucks for the Endura red ring inserts for class 1s. Slap them in there and drive, and they work amazing. So yes, there are a bunch of advantages to class 1 tires. And if you're running a class 1 tire like this, the Ripsaw, specifically on a vehicle that does not have a ton of sprung weight. So in that, I don't know, is it a minority field? Are Lexan-bodied class 1s as uncommon as I think they are? Like, to me, when I think class 1, I think it's got a driver. I think, like, the doors open. You know, there's all the class 1 gubbins. If you don't have class 1 gubbins, and you have a Lexan body that weighs 100 grams, 130 grams, these tires punch way up above their weight. They are getting increasingly difficult to obtain. I don't know. I don't explicitly think that they've been discontinued. But at the same time, I don't know if they have or not. I know that they are now my favorite class 1 tire. And I hope that Axial will like, well, yeah, they don't show up. If I search for them on AMain, they don't show up. So maybe they are gone. Do I have to go back and change this whole thing to a rear view? Does somebody still have them? No, people still got them. They're $29 a pair, typically, which is, I mean, pricey. And would my recommendation be run out and buy these, knowing that you can get you can get class 1 Tusk, you can get, there's all you have to see. Axial 110 Ripsaw R35 AXIC 2016 discontinued at Horizon. This item is no longer available. You know what? That's a shame. That's truly a shame. Very Horizon, though, because in my mind, unquestionably the best tire Axial has produced ever. Yeah, such is the way. So I guess we you know what? I'm going to use we, and by we I mean the royal we, because I hope that there's at least 1 or 2 people out there that have learned things at the same time I have. The Axial 19 Ripsaw is a class 1 tire. It's not 4.3, it's not 4.35, it's 4.19 basically. 106 millimeters? That's a class 1. It's the best R35 tire. You can still find them places, but at the same time, do I give a hard recommendation to rush out and buy these when you can buy any number of, you could buy RC 4-wheel drive scramblers, you could buy J-Concepts Tusks or Megalithics, you could buy, there's a number of class 1 tires out there. You know what I would like to see? More. Because more variety is better, more options are better. Hey, Axial, how about just Riri? Just give us Ripsaws back. Stop making some of the other crap. Here's an even better idea, Axial. Riri these. Then take this exact carcass, the thickness and everything, and blow it up a little bit. Give us like a 465 Ripsaw. Don't make it thicker, don't make it thinner. Make it exactly like this one, but make it a 465. We will have to run a dual stage foam in it, but it will be really good. And I would think it might be the best tire Axial has ever made. They won't make it. They only make scale representation tires now, and they do them wrong. So this is a quick view, a Redux, a rear view. It's the whole thing. It is the Axial Ripsaw 1.9. The best tire axial ever made. Add it to the list, guys. Wonderful things that we can't... Why can't we have nice things? I'm leaning in really close to the microphone. Because Horizon. So, thanks so much for joining me. If you have any rhetorical questions or answers, I will Ooh. I'm trying to figure out how to make an adverb out of rhetorical. I will de-rhetoricalize them in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Tune in for whatever we have next. In the meantime, please, one and all, do your best to have a good one, everybody. I'll see you next time here from the Canyon. Comments below. We love the comments. I mean us. The royal us. Us love the comments. Y'all come back now. Yeah, here.